The latest is we hope that Republicans will take the bipartisan deal that the Senate is going to send us and just put that on the floor. That is the easiest thing. It is bipartisan. It has strong support from both sides of the aisle to continue government funding, because we all recognize that the impacts of this will go far beyond this Capitol if we shut down. People will not be able to get their salaries, their paychecks. Government workers, agencies that people rely on are not going to work. So if somebody has a question about Social Security, they're not going to be able to get that. Safety net programs will be really severely hampered. So that's what we need to do. And I just don't know if my Republican colleagues in the House are going to follow the lead of Republicans in the Senate, who recognize this is the role of governing. That I just don't think our House Republicans, unfortunately, know how to govern.
I think there might be a temporary shutdown. The good news now is people are talking. I was just part of a meeting to sort of forge some sort of agreement within the House caucus. We need in the House to put forward our best alternative in order to have a strong negotiating position with the Senate. The Senate is obviously controlled by Democrats. They're going to have a different construct. But until we do our work here in the House, we're at a disadvantage. So I'm hoping we can work around the clock to get something done before the deadline.
We worked last night. Our last vote last night was around 1 o'clock in the morning. Our vote tonight will be around 1 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to get 4 of the 12 packages passed through. If we can get those 4 of the 12, that will be a total of 5. Don't mean to throw too many numbers there. Be a total of 12 packages, or roughly about 70% of the entire package. I think we can get the handful of holdouts. I think we can get them to work with us. I have not given up. We've been working on this a whole lot longer than the last week. Bill and appropriations, we started working on this back in January. So it's been a lot of work put into it. We're right here at the end. It's crunch time. And we get that, we understand that. The shutdown itself is always a threat, always a possibility, but we're not going to settle for that, unless it's just the absolutely last means of an avenue to go. But I think we're getting closer. I really do. I want to stay positive about it.
So this is funding for non-mandatory spending. So things that are mandatory that would continue to be funded. The United States Armed Forces would continue to be funded. The Coast Guard would continue to go to work, but would not receive funding until would not receive pay until after something passes. TSA would probably continue to go to work, but not receive pay until after something passes. Air traffic controllers would continue to go to work and receive pay. People, Customs Border Protection would continue to go to work in that fashion. People that work at courthouses might not. So there is a mix of where people are affected and where they are not specifically affected in that way.
Our bill cuts spending. Our bill does everything that we need to keep the government open while securing the border. It's just that the Senate-led Democrat, Chuck Schumer and company, and the president has to get to the point where they say our border, not Ukraine's border, but our border has to be a priority.
Right now we're just watching a political theater with the Republicans. They're at war with each other, not with the Democrats. In fact, they're at war with the people of the United States. I mean, we have basically 7 or 8 very extreme Republicans who are holding up the works from funding government. And this is going to have a ripple effect. If government shuts down, that means just in Florida alone, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are not going to be paid. And that includes our servicemen and women who are in military posts in the state. This has a ripple effect. That means people may not be able to pay their bills, their merchants, and so everyone would be hurt by a shutdown.
We're against shutting down the government. I mean, the reality is a shutdown is incredibly damaging. Certainly the impact on the economy is significant. In a district like mine, where the federal government is the largest employer, we have seen just how damaging a shutdown is. Impact on federal workers. I've got folks who work at the Naval Shipyard in Kitsap County who are really worried. But it's not even just federal workers. I think about the national park. Last time there was a lengthy shutdown and the national park closed. I had a hotel operator in Sequim say, when the national park shut, we had 3 weeks of cancellations, and that took more than a year to dig out from under. And so there are real implications for our economy and for federal workers and for Main Street businesses as well.
So the shutdown is totally unnecessary. It's preventable. It would be very costly, and it'll hurt millions of people. So I have voted with the vast majority of members, both Republicans and Democrats, earlier this summer on a budget agreement that avoided default and established this budget that would keep spending at 2023 levels, this year's levels, and a few members of the House want to go back on that now, and we're stuck in this situation where they may shut the government down, and folks back home should know that this is going to really hurt people. Folks won't get paid. Federal employees, this is service members, air traffic controllers. They're literally going to sit on people's paychecks. Women, moms with kids who couldn't otherwise afford food won't have access to food assistance, and seniors. Programs like Meals on Wheels, it just doesn't get funded. It's a long list, totally unnecessary, and I have told leadership on both sides I'm committed to getting this done and averting a shutdown. So just let's vote on something that we know will pass and will keep the government open.
I think we'll be able to reach a deal. I really do. I know that it's not looking really good right now from the outside, but there are a lot of conversations happening. There's a lot of ability to get things done. It's just the willingness right now is the hard part. We had our conference this morning. Republicans got together in the basement of the Capitol, spoke, and I think there was a lot of positive comments about how we can get to a place and we should get to a place. There's just a few holdouts that are making life a little bit difficult for the rest of us. Obviously, the Senate's working on their side, short-term CR to get us through this. But ultimately, I think the majority of the conference wants to see some control in spending of the federal government, but they also want to see the government continue to be open, as I very much want to as well. But we've got to be responsible in how we handle this.